Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, my family would like to honor the memory of our fellow patriots that lost their lives in this senseless and preventable act of violence committed in Benghazi on September 11th, a date that will forever be regarded as a day of unity for America citizens and a warning. And with that, I'm going to come back. In an interview with the committee yesterday, Ms. Lamb said that in May 2012, Embassy Tripoli had come back and said things were going so great. The RSO gave up 6 of the 16 SSTs. I just assumed that if the RSO, Nordstrom, was willing to give up assets and not ask for replacements, that he didn't need them. But again, the functions that they were being used for, but again, the functions that they were being used for were being slowly filled by local national employees. Lieutenant Wood, is it true in your time in Libya that things were going that great? And would you describe the conditions from Libya from your personal point of view?
Yes, sir. From my personal point of view, things in Libya always remained difficult and uncertain and could devolve at any moment into further problems and result in loss of life almost at any minute. SST members were fully integrated with the diplomatic security people there and worked through and under all these difficult circumstances. I have a couple things here I'm trying to find. There were numerous incidents. Lawless situation was pretty much the norm. There was assassinations that went on of Gaddafi loyalists and back and forth. Insurgent activity continued along the border town of Al-Kufra, where it drained a lot of the meager resources of the fledgling government to go down there and try to put down rebellious and insurgent activity going on down there. There was no control of the borders or weapon smuggling in and out of the country. There was a loss of control of weapons types previously mentioned here, the shoulder-fired missiles. And tanks and anti-aircraft guns could be found in the possession of almost anyone, anywhere in Libya. Tribal interest frequently competed with each other and resulted in firefights, and it was a common occurrence. When I first arrived on the ground in Tripoli, I got to where I could recognize celebratory gunfire from actual gunfire fights, when they were shooting at each other. That did die off a little bit. However, we did notice an increase in targeted attacks toward Americans. These indicators spelled out to me that the country was far from secure and that the SST, as it had been originally conceived, was still in need at that location.
Well, in a document that was produced in late July, and I have that document right here, that has documents over 230 events in Libya since June of 2011. Mr. Nordstrom included this in his part of the general assessment on the security environment. In fact, prior to this attack on our embassy, didn't the Red Cross and the British consulate move out of Libya?
Yes, sir, that's entirely correct. The British consulate moved out when I was there, and they actually had an MOU with us to leave their weapons and vehicles on our compound there in Benghazi. They would come back and occupy at times, draw their weapons and vehicles, and then do their work, and then return them and leave. The attack on the International Red Cross was another attack that also involved us and threats to the compound there in Benghazi. The threats were made on Facebook to both the remaining Western influences there in Benghazi, being the Red Cross and the U.S. Embassy compound. The Red Cross was attacked with rocket-propelled grenades in early June, and when it was attacked a second time, I believe they made their decision they were going to give up and leave Benghazi. When that occurred, it was apparent to me that we were the last flag flying in Benghazi. We were the last thing on their target list to remove from Benghazi. I voiced my concerns at the country team meeting. Although it was a difficult thing, the country team was left with no options at that point to try and change the security profile there in Benghazi. The resources had been withdrawn. The decision to not renew the SST was pretty much a foregone conclusion by that point in time. But I urged them to do something and anything to include withdrawal from Benghazi, although I knew that was impossible at the time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.